Alright, hi there, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. So, I woke up to a really nice surprise from all of you today. I saw that this channel has reached 100 subscribers, and I know comparatively that's not a lot, but at the same time, it's quite a lot. That's 100 people. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being a part of this journey of mine. And it makes me really happy that all of you seem invested in the stories that I have to share. So, as the title of this video suggests, I want to talk about Valentine's Day. So, today is Valentine's Day, and I'm sure that there are some people that are feeling a little bit lonely today. There's something about these sort of holidays that just amplify those feelings, be it Valentine's Day, maybe the holidays, your birthday. So I wanted to make this video to help me, help us feel a little less lonely if we need that. So I spend a lot of time throughout the year just being by myself, and I quite like that. And I think it's because I spend a lot of quality time with myself. And over time, I have grown to really enjoy my own company. I quite like myself. I wasn't always like that, but when I think about it, I think I would really enjoy getting to know someone like myself. So when I frame it that way, yeah, I think I can confidently say that I quite like myself. But at the same time, I do feel lonely, and I do understand that it can be a painful feeling, and sometimes that pain can be really amplified depending on a lot of factors. So I wanted to talk about how I balance those feelings of loneliness, because it can feel like a really strong current, a really strong wave. But at the same time, I think I have recognized that through spending time with myself, there's also a wave of peace that comes with being by yourself. And once you learn how to ride those waves, that's when you become a master of your own solitude. So, where am I going with this? Around Valentine's Day, I can't help but think about love. And over the years, I have subconsciously developed some rituals for me that help me master these waves. And it comes in the form of reflecting on what love means to me. So, I have decided to put on my favorite dress and try to look a little nice for myself, because even though I may not have someone physically here to spend time with me on Valentine's Day, I can at least do these little things like get nice and present myself in a way that makes me feel pretty. I feel really happy because I feel really beautiful in this moment. So that is one of the rituals that I do, is just trying to present myself in a way that makes me feel very beautiful. And I think when I see that in the mirror, I'm able to find peace. That peace that allows me to find joy in my solitude. So I decided to wear one of my favorite dresses. It has roses. It's very in theme, right? But it also has to do with what I want to talk about later as well. Oh, speaking of roses, I even bought myself a rose today. Can you believe that this rose was $9? Oh my goodness, what sort of capitalist holiday is this where a rose is $9, you might be thinking. So, the worth is not necessarily the price tag, for me at least. And on any regular day, I probably wouldn't buy myself a $9 rose. But today, it has a special meaning to me because this is the rose that I picked for myself. And this is the rose that I have decided to gift myself to strengthen the relationship that I have with myself. So, once again, minus the $9, this rose today has an inherent worth. It is a connection to myself. And that is why I love this rose, even though it is $9. I also bought myself another gift. I bought myself these Ferrero Rocher chocolates. I don't remember the last time I had Ferrero Rocher, but I couldn't help but get it because, one, it's Valentine's Day, and I wanted to have a little sweet treat later, but I also was thinking about my grandparents. My grandparents really love Ferrero Rochers. So I thought maybe I should get these Ferrero Rochers because it kind of reminds me of them. And that is my connection to them. And that is why it was worth me getting these chocolates. I think what I'm trying to say in me getting these little gifts is that it helps me feel connected. It helps me feel connected with myself and connected to people in some way, even if they're not physically here. And I think that's a really important ritual for me around this time because I think I need to ground myself in these connections. Okay, I had to change up the angle ever so slightly because the sun is setting, and when the sun sets, it changes the lighting of these videos pretty drastically. Anyway, let's continue. One of the other rituals that I do is reread The Little Prince, and I have it here with me today because I would like to share and read some of the passages with you. So, The Little Prince is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite story of all time. And I think it's because it holds a lot of life philosophies that deeply resonate with me and that I tend to subconsciously live out day by day. Another reason is because it reminds me of a few people that I hold very close in my heart. So, if you're not familiar with the story of the Little Prince, there is in fact a little prince, and he used to live on an asteroid, and on that asteroid there was a rose that he deeply loved. The Little Prince describes his rose as a bit vain, manipulative, tends to lie, and yet for some reason he is drawn to her, he loves her. And I feel like many of us have been in that situation. We have that one person that we recognize may not be the best for us. And perhaps the people around us tell us, well, why them? There's so many fish in the sea, so why them? And I think the scene, these 3 to 4 pages, explains so well this very nuanced feeling that we have towards certain people. When the Little Prince lands on Earth, one of the places that he finds is a garden of roses. And this is what he thinks to himself. She, being the rose, would be very annoyed, he said to himself, if she saw this. She would cough terribly and pretend to be dying to avoid being laughed at. And I'd have to pretend to be nursing her. Otherwise, she'd really let herself die in order to humiliate me. And then he said to himself, I thought I was rich because I had just one flower, and all I own is an ordinary rose. That and my 3 volcanoes, which come up to my knee, one of which may be permanently extinct. It doesn't make me much of a prince. And he lay down in the grass and wept. So after this scene, he meets a very essential character, and that character is the fox. And initially, he asked the fox if he would come and play with him. And the fox says, "No, I can't play with you, because I am not tamed." And the little prince asked him, "What does it mean to be tamed?" And he says something along the lines of, "It means to create ties, it means to create connections." So if you make a connection with that person or thing, then you have been tamed by them. And through this philosophy, the little prince understands his feelings towards his rose a little bit deeper. So after his conversations with the fox, he goes back to the rose garden, and this is what he says. The little prince went to look at the roses again. "You're not at all like my rose. You're nothing at all yet," he told them. "No one has tamed you, and you haven't tamed anyone. You're the way my fox was. He was just a fox like 100,000 others. But I've made him my friend, and now he's the only fox in the world." And the roses were humbled. "You're lovely, but you're empty," he went on. "One couldn't die for you. Of course, an ordinary passerby would think my rose looked just like you, but my rose, all on her own, is more important than all of you together, since she's the one I've watered, since she's the one I put under glass, since she's the one I sheltered behind a screen. She is the one for whom I killed the caterpillars, except the 2 or 3 for butterflies, since she's the one I listened to when she complained, or when she boasted, or even sometimes when she said nothing at all, since she's my rose." It's so beautiful because I think in my own life, and I'm sure in your own life, we've all had those sort of roses. We've all had that person that we've watered, cared for, protected. And because of all of those things, because of all of those connections, we have been tamed. So when I was in a relationship that I probably shouldn't have been in, I often think about this scene because it was the only scene that made me feel seen. Because I didn't know how to understand, because I couldn't figure out how to explain to people that, of course, I understand that this person is the way that they are, but I can't help but love that person anyway, because that is the person that I have watered and protected. And it's tragic. It's true that there will be no other rose, no other person like that in my life. And there are certain things that will still keep me connected to that person, whether they know it or not. Much like how the fox, when he sees the wheat, he will think of the little prince. There are certain things in life that I see around me that will remind me of that rose. But it doesn't mean that I don't have other roses or other foxes or other humans that I have made those sort of connections with. And perhaps better connections too. For example, the connection with my Ferrero Rocher. I think I'm gonna have one. So when I went to the store and when I saw these little chocolates, it made me think of my grandparents, and it made me think of my connection with them. And it's funny how in this little chocolate, I still feel connected with them because they have tamed me. And similarly to what I was saying about my rose, this rose looks and feels like any other rose at that store and any other rose that is floating around today on Valentine's Day. And yet at the same time, it is not. It is the rose that I picked for myself. So if you haven't read The Little Prince, or you just want a little comfort around this time of year, perhaps you can join me on this ritual of rereading this story. And perhaps this will become your new ritual. And perhaps this will be our connection together, so that whenever you see The Little Prince, you will think of me. So this isn't exactly a ritual, but it does have to do with our conversation with connections. So I've been reading this book that was recommended to me by someone that rejected me, someone that I lost a connection with a few weeks ago. And in my reflections of rejection and lost connections, I've been wondering about this habit of mine that I do. So I have a habit of trying to mimic the person that I admire, the person that rejected me. Because I can't help but want validation from that person after they reject me. So instead of trying to get validation from that person, I rather just take something that I admire about them, try to embody it, try to be like them to some capacity, be the person that I admire, so that I can be the person that can generate my own validation, not them. That's the goal, at least. Another reason why I do it is because I think I'm trying to prolong a connection with them, even superficially. I think it's my way of grieving that lost connection in some ways. And kind of tying it back to The Little Prince, there are certain things that will remind me of this person now and remind me of that connection with them. And this book that I'm reading, which I have right here, is the thing that reminds me of them. And I realized that there are things about this person that made them like the rose. But I also know through life experience that even though I will not find a rose like that person and will not have that connection with that person, it's okay, because eventually, once I finish this book, once I go through the grieving process of losing that connection, I know that there will be another person, another rose that I will connect with and will cherish, while still recognizing that that rose in that moment of time felt special to me as well. So before the sun totally sets on us and we have no lighting, I would like to share with you my very last ritual. So every year, around this time of year, I listen to one specific album, and that album is Conversations with Myself by Bill Evans. And in particular, the track that I listen to the most is the love theme from Spartacus. I can't really say much about this album because I think the magic of it is that it's trying to communicate all the things that I cannot with words. So all I can really impart on you is please listen to it, and perhaps you can feel what cannot be felt and understood with words from this album. I do really like how it's basically just overdubs. It really is a conversation between himself. And what I feel in this album is, and perhaps I'm just projecting, perhaps he's also trying to figure out a few things, a few definitions, a few understandings of what love is, what life is. I don't know. I guess the more I listen to this album, the more I feel like I can understand his musings a little bit. Some other things that I have been listening to around this time of year is Ichiko aoba, in particular, Windswept Adan. And in particular, the song that I've been listening to the most is Dawn in the Adan. And I don't know why it has been hitting me so hard, but Perhaps if you are interested, you can watch my video, Ichiko, Aoba, and Exchanging Seashells, to understand a little bit further. Another song I've been listening to a lot is The Love It Took to Leave You by Colin Stetson. And similarly to what I was saying about Bill Evans, it really communicates a lot of feelings I have that I cannot put into words. And when I listen to this, I feel like I can understand that sort of love it takes to leave someone. The sort of love it takes to leave your asteroid, to leave your rose, to lose that connection, and perhaps leave room for more connections. Anyway, it is getting dark, and before I end this video, I just wanted to say thank you. I hope that this video might have helped you feel a little bit less lonely, a little bit more connected, more of a master of your own solitude. And after this video, I hope that you do something that helps quell some of those feelings of loneliness. For me, I might go see a movie that is showing at the Japan Society, or I might just read my book. I definitely think I'll eat some chocolate. I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, I'll see all of you in the next video. Thank you so much.